first stop we'll be taking on today's guided tour of some of the world's UNESCO World Heritage Sites is Dinosaur Provincial Park in Alberta, Canada. This was classified as a Natural Heritage Site in 1979, but has been a provincial park since 1955. As its name implies, Dinosaur Provincial Park is rich with fossils, especially those of dinosaurs. There are currently 38 species of dinosaurs identified. The vertebrate fossil record of the park also includes abundant remains of fish, mammals, reptiles, and ancient species like the crocodilian. Including species of plants, over 500 specimens have been removed from the site and exhibited in museums around the world. As well as its extensive archaeological and scientific importance, Dinosaur Provincial Park is also protected for its striking badland topography. Next up on our tour is the Okapi Wildlife Reserve, located in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The reserve was listed as a UNESCO Natural Site in 1996, but unfortunately has been endangered since 1997. The main threats to the reserve are deforestation, primarily caused by slash-and-burn agriculture, and commercial hunting for the sale of bushmeat. Also, the lack of funding due to the poor political and economic conditions of the country has caused issues. The hope is that ecotourism to the area can be developed, leading to both increased funding and improved public awareness. The reserve contains threatened species of primates and birds and an estimated 5,000 of the remaining 30,000 okapi in the wild. The reserve is also home to the traditional nomadic pygmy hunters. Our third stop on the tour is the breathtaking Amalfi Coast in Salerno, Italy. This popular tourist destination was listed as a cultural heritage site in 1997. Known for cultivating lemons and the production of limoncello, agriculture is still practiced using traditional methods in this region. The agricultural industry, however, has been declining due to an economic shift towards tourism. Unfortunately, this has led to the neglect of the agricultural terraces, which requires constant maintenance and proper construction. The famous terraces of the Amalfi Coast date back to 950. These terraces are considered to be human-engineered ecosystems and are typical examples of systematic relationship between humans and the environment. For our next stop, we'll be taking a domestic flight to the northern part of Italy, to the historical city of Verona. Founded in the 1st century BC, this city was listed as a cultural heritage site in 2000. Verona is one of the main tourist destinations in northern Italy, where many annual fairs, shows, and operas take place, such as the lyrical season in the Arena, the ancient amphitheater built by the Romans. Even if a person has never heard of Verona, they have probably heard of Shakespeare's famous play, Romeo and Juliet, which took place in Verona along with two gentlemen of Verona. Interestingly enough, there is no evidence which shows Shakespeare had ever been to Verona or even to Italy in his lifetime. The 2,000-year history of Verona still intact architecture, which represents the Roman period, Romanesque, the Middle Ages, and the Renaissance. The walls surrounding the city prevented 19th century development such as industry and railroads within the historical city. I hope you packed a parka because our next stop will be 100 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. The Putorana Plateau in Russia is a high-lying basalt plateau composed of Siberian traps. The plateau was listed as UNESCO Natural Site in 2010. At nearly 19,000 square kilometers, this massive area was designated as a nature reserve in 1988, but it is only the 4th largest of Russia's 134 reserves and national parks. Studied by several waves of explorers and scientists, there are only actually half a dozen wardens who live up here up to 10 months of the year. The remoteness and strict protection ensure that the vast number of Arctic and subarctic ecosystems remain intact with minimal human influence. Its natural features include deep canyons, cold water rivers, thousands of waterfalls and over 25,000 lakes, characterized by fjord-like formation. The combination of landscape diversity, naturalness, and protection may provide valuable evidence on the impacts of climate change if proper monitoring and research take place. We're flying south for our next stop in Southeast Asia. Angkor in Cambodia has been listed as a cultural heritage site since 1992. It is one of the most important archaeological sites in Southeast Asia for containing the remains of different capitals of the Khmer Empire from the 9th to 15th century, including the Angkor Thom and one of Cambodia's most popular tourist destinations, Angkor Wat. Angkor was a megacity, which supported at least 0.1% of the world's population during 1010 to 1220. Many of the temples at Angkor have been restored, but most of the area is in ruins of the once great Khmer Empire. Nearly 2 million visitors annually see the temples, which present multiple issues to the preservation of the protected ruins. In 2007, researchers concluded that Angkor had been the largest pre-industrial city in the world. It had an elaborate infrastructure system connecting to an urban sprawl of over 1,000 square kilometers, with the temples at the core. It also had a complicated water management network used for storing and dispersing water throughout the area. Our next stop on the tour is Down Under in Queensland, Australia. Composed of over 2,900 individual reefs and 900 islands, the Great Barrier Reef is the largest coral reef system in the world and was designated as a Natural Heritage Site in 1981. Covering an area of approximately 344,400 square kilometers, the reef is the world's largest single structure made by living organisms and can even be seen from outer space. The extraordinary biodiversity and interconnectedness of the habitats and species make the Great Barrier Reef and the surrounding areas one of the richest and most complex natural systems on Earth. It has become a very popular tourist destination in Australia for recreational scuba diving, snorkeling, fishing charters, and boating. Over the last 25 years, zoning plans, permits, education, and management plans have been applied to regulate access to control impacts associated with human use of the Great Barrier Reef. Located on the other side of the Pacific Ocean are the Galapagos Islands and the Republic of Ecuador. This archipelago of 21 volcanic islands is located on either side of the equator and was listed as a UNESCO Natural Site in 1978. Known for its rich biodiversity, the Galapagos are home to a vast number of endemic species that were famously recorded by Charles Darwin. Darwin's observations and scientific collections contributed to his theory of evolution by means of natural selection. It is recorded that 60% of all organisms on the islands are endemic, and as on most oceanic islands, the native animals show little to no fear of humans. Features like this make it very attractive to tourists, as the Galapagos are seen as a last paradise of the world. Initially, the amount of visitors caused little problems, but since 1979, as tourism increases, so does the pressure on the fragile ecosystems. Our next stop is in Peru, South America. Located on a mountain ridge 2,430 meters above sea level, the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu is a 15th century Inca citadel. This UNESCO World Heritage Site is a mix between natural and cultural heritage, and was designated in 1983. Built around 1450, the civilization flourished until around 1540, after the collapse of the empire. It is said to be the most amazing urban creation of the Inca Empire at its height. Its impressive giant walls, terraces, and ramps seem as if they had been cut naturally in the rock escarpment. On the eastern slopes of the Andes, Machu Picchu encompasses the upper Amazon basin with its rich biodiversity. Most of the outlying buildings have been reconstructed to give tourists a better idea of what it once looked like. The marvels of construction that the Incas left behind speak volumes for their genius engineering capabilities. There is still speculation around the original purpose of the site, but scientists argue that it was definitely a sacred location and possible royal retreat. The final stop on our tour is the famous Grand Canyon National Park of Arizona, United States. This natural heritage site was listed as a UNESCO site in 1979 for its central feature, the Grand Canyon, a gorge of the Colorado River. The canyon has geological significance as its Precambrian and Paleozoic rocks record an important chapter in the tectonic history of the region. The park itself received more than 6 million recreational visitors in 2017 alone, which is the second highest count of all American national parks after Great Smoky Mountains National Park. In 1903, President Theodore Roosevelt visited the site and said, "The Grand Canyon fills me with awe. It is beyond comparison, beyond description, absolutely unparalleled throughout the entire world. Let this wonder of nature remain as it is now. Do nothing to mar its grandeur, sublimity, and loveliness. You cannot improve on it, but what you can do is keep it for your children, your children's children, and all who come after you, as the one great sight which every American should see."
And with that quote in mind, thank you for joining my tour today.